two things. First of all, I've created a template spreadsheet to use with Doctopus because Doctopus is managing information and it needs that information organized in a particular way. So here I have a period column, a first name column, a last name column, email address column, and an excused column. You'll see later how each of these columns helps me to navigate Doctopus's options. So I've created this template, and every time I make a new assignment, I go to File, Make a Copy, and I name the new copy according to whatever assignment I'm pushing out. Right now I'm pushing out a period 4 Doctopus template for a summer reading essay. This is my naming protocol with the period first, which helps me sort in my Google Drive list. Okay, so it's created a copy of my template that looks exactly the same but with a new title, so I can go back to my original template and close it. Now I'm going to open up the results of the form wherein I gathered student email addresses earlier in the year. Again, if you don't know how to do this, you can refer to the previous tutorial. I look at the responses of the form, and as you can see, all of my students have submitted their email addresses and various other questions that I asked them. You can sort in a spreadsheet according to, let's say, the last name column if you're looking for a particular student, or for the purposes of Doctopus, it's most helpful to sort by English class and period. Since this is a period 4 assignment, and it's the first time I'm setting it up, I'm going to scroll down to period 4, find the first period 4 student, and capture all of the rows that have a period 4 student within them. I'm going to Command C to copy all of this information, turn back to the sheet I created for the assignment, go to the first name column because that just happens to be the way the information is organized, hit paste, Command V, and there you go. Now, inevitably when your students are submitting a form, there's going to be duplicate entries. So I just need to take a moment to go through and delete all of the duplicate entries. While this is an annoying task, you'll only have to do it once, because once I have a clean sheet for my period 4 class, I can simply make a copy of this sheet for every subsequent assignment. Okay, now I have a relatively clean list of my period 4 class. There's probably a quicker way to do this, but I'm just going to go down typing 4 and hitting return until I've filled in everyone's period. Now, again, because this is the first time I'm setting it up, I'm going to scroll through the row of email addresses and see if I see any obvious problems. For example, this student neglected to put the @ sign in his email address, so I'll correct that. I'm looking to see if any student wrote student singular instead of students plural. I'm looking to see if Shrewsbury is spelt correctly. Here I see a missing R. And all of this is going to be helpful legwork when it comes time to push out the documents, because a mistyped email address will require troubleshooting. Here's a student who forgot to write K-12. This student wrote UA instead of US. And everything else looks relatively clear to me. Okay, the next thing you're going to have to do is run Doctopus. If it's your first time running Doctopus, you won't see this menu option here. You'll need to go to Tools, Script Gallery, and search for Doctopus. As you can see, I found Doctopus. I'm going to install it into Chrome. Now that it's installed, I can close, and it's going to give me this message that the app needs authorization to run. Hit continue. This window will pop up. It's going to say that basically it's asking to access your Google Drive to conduct the workflow that Doctopus is going to be utilized for. So I accept this, wait a moment, it's installed, I can close this window, and at that point you'll see this Doctopus menu show up in your menu bar. Go to Doctopus and launch installation. It'll take a moment to set up our Doctopus protocol. So, desired sharing arrangement. How do I want to push out documents to my students? I could look at my spreadsheet, divide the students into groups, have a separate column within the spreadsheet that names each group, and send a different document to each student based on the group they're in. I can create an assignment and create a separate copy to every student so that they have their own version of the document. I could also, similar to the group assignment, I could differentiate the assignment. So some students get a particular essay prompt, let's say, some students get a different one. And I can share a single document with the entire class. For my current demonstration, I'm going to push out a summer reading assignment, and it's going to be the same document but an individual copy for each student. So individual, all the same. Whole class access level. I'm going to leave this at no access. Later when the students peer edit, they'll have them share with selected students within their class, but rather than have the whole class have access to each document, I'm going to leave it at no access. And an individual student, I'm going to allow to edit the document. Alternatively, you could use this to push out a handout that you only want students to be allowed to view, or you could even push out an article or an essay that you want students to comment on, which is another useful tool to use. But again, for this assignment, I'm going to allow students to edit. And now I need to make sure that I get these roster settings correct. It's asking me where the information that Doctopus is going to use to push the assignment out is found. In this spreadsheet, as you can see, I only have one sheet. So in this case, sheet 1, where is the column containing student email addresses? Well, it's in the email column, perfect, and the column containing the excused designation. So this is why I created the column that says excused. It's a functionality within Doctopus that I don't use too often, although I think in the future I may find opportunities to. So you want to choose the excused column that you created, and then save the settings. And your Doctopus will start working. Okay, now it's going to ask you which document you want to distribute to your students. So you need to find the folder within your drive that contains it. This is why it's important to keep a relatively organized drive. Here I go. Because of my naming protocol where class period is indicated at the front of each title, I'm easily able to scroll down to the document I titled 12 Summer Reading Essay. I save settings, Doctopus goes to work. Now I need to choose a folder where I want all of the students' essays to show up in my drive. I've pre-organized my drive so that I have a folder in mind, but if you haven't yet, you can create a folder now. For example, you could create a folder and you could title it Summer Reading Essay. In my case, I already have such a folder. Summer Reading Essays 2013 and 14. All of my students' summer reading essays are going to show up in this folder. And now I'm allowed to name each document as it appears in the student's drive. Again, it's going to create a separate copy of the same document for each student. This language allows me to describe data that I want to appear in the title. So, the first thing I want is the period. As you've seen, I like to have my documents titled with the period number first, which helps me to sort. Second, I want the student's last name. So again, I'm following the guidance that's provided to me above. So, each student's document will be titled by their period number, their last name, and then the text I'm about to write. Again, I'm keeping it simple. I want to be able to easily identify the document, so I'm calling this Summer Reading Essay. I'm going to save these settings. Doctopus thinks and brings me to step 4. Doctopus gives you a chance to review the settings before you send things out. Again, I'm going to have an individual document. It's going to be the same for each student, but they'll each have their own individual copy. The class will not have access to each other's documents, so it'll just be me and each individual student who has access to their document. Each student will be able to edit their document, and of course I want this to be the case because it's the document upon which they'll be writing their essay. It's reminding me which document I chose to share with the students, and here it is, my 12 Summer Reading Essay 2013. I'm going to run, copy, and share. I can't move this window right now, but behind me in the spreadsheet you can see that one by one it's going to insert a new column within my spreadsheet, and within that column it's going to provide a link to each of the documents that are created. Finally, all the documents have been shared. I click OK. Again, as you can see, my spreadsheet has been expanded to include information that Doctopus needs, for example, the file key. I'm not going to mess with this information, but it's part of the internal mechanisms that allow Doctopus to keep track of the work. Not only do I have a link to each student's essay, I also have a column that indicates to me when the last time it was edited is. That's a good tool if you're trying to determine whether a student has been working on their assignment, making progress on it, etc. There's also columns for grades and written feedback, and I'll talk about that when I get to my Gubrick tutorial. For now, it's an important point to make that no matter how hard I've tried to double check, the first time through I always have errors where a student has misspelled their email address and I've missed it the first time around. When that's the case, what I do is I open the student's essay. So let's say this student, Jacob Collins, it looks like he got his email address correct, but let's imagine that he is not. What I'll do is I'll open this document which has been shared with an erroneous email address. I'll click the share button. And what I would do is add that student's name to the list of editors manually. In this way, the assignment will still be shared with the student and with an erroneous fictional email address. Now, this is the document that each student has. It's my directions and expectations for their summer reading assignment. Each student has their own version of this document to edit. If they'd like, they could select all and erase and just start writing them their own essay. Alternatively, they could keep the directions there and begin working on their essay with the directions always within the document for them to scroll up or down to and refer to and consult with as they complete their work. Back to my drive, you'll see that the folder where I asked Doctopus to deposit these documents, Summer Reading Essay 2013 and 14, and note, by the way, how I have my drive organized so that I can easily access these documents. You can see that within this folder, Summer Reading Essay 2013-14, I have the summer reading essay for all of my students. It's currently sorted by title, and again, because of my titling protocol where the period number is at the beginning of the title, it thus makes things easy to find as I scroll down. It's first categorizing by title, and after title it's alphabetizing by the next word, which of course is a student's last name. Scroll down to 4, and you can see all of those students' essays are now here. The other thing that I've done is I've included these spreadsheets that I've created. I've included in the summer reading essay folder. That way, if a student hasn't received the assignment or for some reason they can't see it, I can check the spreadsheet and confirm that their email address is correct. For future assignments, I'll go back to this assignment, open the spreadsheet that I used to distribute it. Assuming I made corrections to any errors that existed along the way, the next time I want to send out a document, I can make a copy of this spreadsheet, rename it according to the new assignment. This is a period 5 one. So let's say that I've moved on to the Lord of the Flies unit essay. Title it, hit OK. Here's my new document. I'm going to erase all of the information other than those which are relevant to creating the document. And now I have a fresh spreadsheet that I can go through the whole process over again. In the next tutorial, we'll talk about using Gubrick to embed rubrics within each student's essay and allowing you to provide feedback within the document itself. Thus, in the students' digital writing folders, you'll have not only their work, but your feedback both in terms of the rubric and an opportunity for written feedback as well.